Mike Westerfield, 48 years old, diagnosed a couple of years ago. The process of getting diagnosed was quite easy here for me. I got diagnosed and got in to see a psychologist in about 4 months. I noticed after watching Love on the Spectrum with my wife, who's a therapist, that I had some unique characteristics that a lot of children with autism have. And I noticed that I used to have or acted in certain ways when I was younger after watching a lot of these episodes on Love on the Spectrum. So this caused me to really think about my childhood and things that happened to me, bullying, and just remembering that I've been masking for years and trying to really act like that or act differently than the way I really felt. I found myself mimicking behaviors. I didn't know how to smile until about 10 years ago. So there's just things that I just thought that everybody felt and everybody did. And after watching Love on the Spectrum and researching autism for about a year, I realized that I had a lot of unique characteristics that were in the Diagnostic Statistical Manual that fit the criteria for autism spectrum disorder. So that, and then my youngest daughter was also diagnosed with autism as well. So that had me kind of thinking that there might be a genetic predisposition to autism. The process was easy in comparison to other places and other people that I've heard. It could take up to a year or 2 years from other people that I've talked to who were diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. So I feel like I kind of lucked out because I actually was able to get in about 4 months with a clinic that specializes in diagnosing adults for autism spectrum disorder. I think that some traits that people might notice that I have of being autistic is sometimes I will start going into deep topics about things, or if I find something that I'm interested in, if I'm not careful, I have a tendency to interrupt the conversation. And then I'll start talking about something that I'm really interested in, especially theology, psychology, addiction, stuff like that. So those types of things, when I start talking a lot about something and I go really, really deep into something, those are some traits I think someone might recognize. Somebody might recognize also that I don't like to be around a lot of people. I'm very good at socializing, but I just, after a period of time, I kind of have to get away. I don't like just engaging in conversations for long periods of time with a lot of people. I also don't like small talk. I'm good at it, but it's just something I'm not. I think people can probably tell after a while that there might be some. I'm not going to say it's not genuine, but it might be a little forced at times. Those are probably some things I think of that people might think that about that I might be autistic, especially with the deep thinking, very philosophical, go into subjects very deeply more than the average person. I think people tend to think that they say often like you don't look autistic, so I think people may not notice that how awkward I feel. There's oftentimes I'm always rethinking something that I said. If I say something, there's oftentimes I'm wondering, how did that sound? How did that come across? Man, I feel stupid for saying that. I mean, I can't believe I said that. So people probably don't notice a lot of that thought process that I have of what's going on in the inner chat or the inner dialogue of my mind. People probably don't notice a lot of my sensory issues. There's certain noises, certain sounds that just drive me crazy. But I'm not going to let anybody know that's driving me crazy because I've learned to mask and kind of hide these things. But they probably wouldn't notice those things. They probably wouldn't notice that I have a strong sense of justice. So there are times where I see something going on or somebody's told me about something. And I found myself not really judging people, but I found myself over the years since I was younger, always being a moral, you want to say, a rule follower. So a strong sense of justice, and I may not agree with what somebody's doing, but I want to say something, but I've learned not to speak my mind. So they probably don't notice a lot of that the way I'm feeling inside. I feel like I blend very good into society. I feel like I've learned over the years to mask a lot of characteristics. I remember as I was a kid learning how to even just position my hands at times, or learning how to look or cock my head, even at times trying to learn how to smile. So there's things and characteristics that I've learned to mask over the years. And I think people may not think I'm autistic just because I might not do a lot of rocking. although I do rock sometimes. I've never been hand flapping or anything like that. Some of these stereotypes that people think all autistic people do, but they don't see me hand flapping or rocking a lot, or just maybe having a meltdown. Although I've had several meltdowns throughout my life, especially as I've gotten older, these meltdowns have not been in the workplace or on my job. They've been when I've gotten home. Typically, when I'm overstimulated, I get home. There's been times I've had a lot of meltdowns. So they may not think I'm autistic because they don't see meltdowns in public view, so to speak. But I'm having them. And they also don't see the shutdowns or the burnouts where I just have nothing in my mind. And it's just completely blank. And sometimes I just don't even, I thought it was depression for years. I found out it never was depression. It was just shutdowns. Everything mentally drained, sucked out of my mind. But people don't know that because I've learned to just put on a good mask and just keep talking, especially as being a counselor. I found that with my autism, being a deep thinker and really obsessing over things of interest has caused me to research so many different things in my life that I've been told that I have a lot of knowledge about a lot of different things. I think this is a unique strength, especially within the profession I'm in as a counselor. I love psychology. I love theology. So these things have caused me to research many different things, go to college, a few graduate degrees. So I think in this end, the autism has really helped me in that way. Also, I don't think I don't struggle with theory of mind. So I have an ability to really get in somebody's mind. And I'm very overly sensitive in empathy. So I really care about people very deeply, sometimes to a fault. And I found that this has helped me out as a therapist because a lot of my clients have really felt that I truly want to help them, which I really do. So I think that is actually I don't hear a lot with people talking about autism, but for me, being like in the social science field, that's really helped me out a lot. It's also autism with being a very strong rule follower. I've tried to raise my children up the best I could and actually exemplify that behavior of good moral character for my children. So I think it's been a very strong strength with that as well. I also am very faithful to my wife. I don't believe in stepping out or doing anything, and she really appreciates that. So I think that's also with just being a devout follower in my faith, my religious faith, and being a rule follower. I think that's really helped me out as well. I consider those strengths with autism. I remember having meltdowns at about 8 or 9 years old, and never really had any meltdowns until then. And that became challenging at times. I didn't have them a lot, but I did have some meltdowns. As I got older, I noticed meltdowns more as I was an adult. The more I went into the workforce and I started working, and things became more complicated, I started recognizing I was having a lot more meltdowns in the law enforcement profession. I'd come home and I just thought I had anger issues. And I kept thinking, what am I angry about? I'm not really angry about anything, but I found out I was overstimulated. So I would say that for sure, the meltdowns have really been a hindrance over the years. I built 2 addiction treatment centers and through that process, being overly stimulated coming home at night, I was prone to having some meltdowns. And some of the reasons I started questioning me being on the spectrum. But I think those are the biggest drawbacks as well. Shutdowns, just my brain shutting down sometimes hasn't really affected me. But after sessions and a long day, sometimes I get home and I absolutely have nothing in my brain. And I just have to sit down and just be by myself for a while. So those 2 things I would say have been the biggest struggles for me with being on the spectrum. One other thing, sometimes complicated things I don't get very easily at times. And when I don't, I have a tendency to really get upset internally when somebody might, I've been, there's been people before that thought called me stupid growing up or something like that. And it wasn't because I was not intelligent. I was just having a hard time processing something. But once I've learned to get it, then everything's good. Those have been some struggles as well. And my last thing, trying to fit in with society and be somebody I'm not just to fit in, it's been exhausting over the years. So my religious faith as a Christian, it was very difficult at first because the element of faith was something that was very, very hard for me to accept. I wanted to prove everything. So I studied apologetics, and that helped lead me to Christ. Actually, I was a Christian minister, left Christianity, was a Muslim for years, and then Jesus appeared to me in a dream, and then that led me back in, and I fully accepted Christ. But if I'm to be honest, I think my autistic brain was a hindrance initially, because it was hard for me to walk out on faith. What does that actually mean? Because I'm so used to living my life of trying to prove everything. However, once I walked out on faith and I truly trusted and surrendered to Christ, everything became, it just made much more sense. And it makes more sense now, after, with the diagnosis. It's helped me to understand. It has made sense. Things make much more sense with my brain and everything else. And I also have found myself growing stronger in my relationship with Christ due to me feeling that I'm unique in that that I am autistic, and there's nothing wrong with it. And there's some strengths that come with that. So I feel like, my autistic brain, although I may have kind of came in between me accepting Christ in the beginning, once I fully surrendered and walked out on faith, it's helped me to have a beautiful relationship and also have a greater love for humanity and recognize truly how we're all different.
I'm William O'Flaherty. Thanks for visiting my channel. Please consider liking and or sharing this video. Also, feel free to comment and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and watch other videos.